What's going on, YouTube? RDAP Dan here, Federal Prison Time. Hope you guys are having a great week so far. It's only Monday. So we'll give you all a few minutes to join the room, see who's in here with us. And today we're talking about team meetings and what surrounds that when you're getting ready to go to federal prison and what a team meeting looks like. So we'll give everybody a few minutes to join us. And if you haven't done so, take this moment to go ahead and subscribe to our channel. It's real easy. Just tap on the subscribe button. There should be a notification up there to let you receive notifications when we go live. You can also text the word YouTube to 76626. That will put you on our text message notification. And don't forget about Pigeonly. Pigeonly is our one-stop shop. So if you've got loved ones that are in prison or going to prison, and you want to try to save a few dollars on phone calls, you can create a free Pigeonly account where you can save quite a bit of money on inmate phone calls, also saving money on sending them pictures, postcards, maybe you found some good articles online that you want to send them and you don't have the time to go print all of this stuff, get postage. You can do it all from pigeonly.com, where you can create an account and you can upload all of this stuff. There's a link in the description of this video. There's also a link that was just posted in the live chat. How many people we got in the room with us, CJ?
Right now we got 15 watching.
15 of you. All right, so I guess that's enough to get started. So talking about team meetings today. What does it mean when you get teamed? Now that can mean different things, specifically if you're also referring to RDAP. So this video is not referring to team meetings in RDAP. Wednesday's video is specifically going to talk about getting teamed while you're in RDAP and what that means for somebody that's in the program. It's probably not a good idea if you're getting teamed. Now, when you arrive in federal prison, whether it's a camp, a low, medium, whatever your classification is, your security level, within your first 30 days, you're going to have what's called a team meeting. This is where you're going to sit down with your case manager, specifically all of your questions that you may have. This is really when you want to be very well prepared going into your team meeting, because these team meetings, they don't happen frequently. And we'll get more into how often the team meetings happen and how they're determined. So terms of your incarceration are really what you're going to be talking about in your team meeting. It's going to entail covers things like adjustment to prison, rules, engaging in different programs. This is where they're going to kind of go over a little bit of the basics of the do's and don'ts. You're going to have an official orientation within the prison system as well, but also your case manager is going to go over some things that they specifically want to see you doing. Team has priorly already reviewed your PSR, your pre-sentence report, your pre-sentence investigation. So they're going to be well versed in what's in your PSR. They've covered things like they're going to know about you, your family. They're already going to know about your offense and your crime. All of that's going to be in there. So they're going to have some insight to as how well you prepared going into the PSR interview prior to going to prison and prior to getting sentenced. So for those of you right now that are watching this, that obviously maybe you haven't been sentenced yet, and possibly you have not already done your PSR interview, this would be a great time if you're not sure what you should be doing to prepare for your PSR. This would be a great time to take down our phone number, which you can see on the screen, 509-434-4695, our email, rdapdan@gmail.com, or our website, rdapdan.com. Definitely give us a call, schedule a free consultation. We want to make sure that you're completely prepared for the PSR interview, because one of the first things that they're going to bring up in your team is information in your PSR. So you want to make sure everything that needs to be in there is in there. No questions asked. Now they're gonna recommend that you do certain things while you're in prison. They're gonna recommend that you do different classes, different programs. Could be drug classes, parenting classes. This is when a lot of that is going to take place during that first 30 days of prison. When you first get there, within that first 30 days, when you sit down with your team, specifically is going to be your case manager, who's going to be assigned to you for at least as long as you're within that unit. If you get assigned to a different unit, meaning let's say you transfer out of the unit and you go into RDAP, you'll be assigned a different case manager that oversees that unit. So this unit manager will be with you as long as you are in this specific unit. So like I said, they're going to recommend some different programs that they want to see you take. These programs, you don't have to take the programs. The programs are recommended. They're completely on a voluntary basis. However, if your case manager is recommending you to take programs, my advice to you is to do everything that your case manager asks you to do. Other things they're going to go over are something called FRP. Maybe write this down, FRP, Financial Responsibility Program. FRP is if you have any fines, restitution, assessments. These are where you're going to be paying this back while you're in prison. Every 3 months, you're going to pay a fee of a minimum of $25 if you owe money. Now, they'll tell you that this is also voluntary. You don't have to engage in an FRP program, but what they don't tell you, or they will, if you do not offer to be put into this program, if you owe money, they will take away a lot of privileges. You could lose your phone privileges. They could interfere with your visitations. They can give you a lower job class, meaning basically you'd get put onto like a minimum grade pay schedule. So whatever the lowest amount of money they pay anybody in the prison, and you have a job within the prison system, that's where your pay would go if you refuse FRP. So you'll get what's called an FRP refusal, and this will affect how much halfway house time you get if you're trying to get designated to another prison. So they will make your life a living hell. So if you owe money, allow them to put you into the FRP program. It's going to be a minimum of $25 every 3 months. Now, they could ask you to pay more than that. It's based on, A, how much money you have on your books, how much money you're receiving on commissary. So make sure you don't just think, well, I'm going to be in prison for 3 years. I'm going to spend this much. So I'm going to go ahead and have my family just put that whole amount on my books right away. So don't have somebody dump thousands of dollars onto your books if you owe restitution, because they could end up telling you instead of paying $25, now you're going to pay several $100s every 3 months, or I'm sure there's a cap on it. But if you want to get to that point where you can kind of manage what they're going to take from you, put minimal funds onto your books as you need the money. That's my advice when it comes to the financial responsibility payments. Do not get caught up in refusing for FRP. Also, make sure if you have like a special assessment, like once you're sentenced, you're going to be court ordered a special assessment of around $100 per charge. So if you owe money and you've probably already paid it, make sure you get copies of your actual receipt that you paid it and bring it into prison with you. More times than not, they'll ask you if you pay this, and you're going to say yes because you did, and they're not going to see it on their end, and they're going to want proof, and they're going to try to put you on FRP until you prove it, and it can be a pain. Sometimes they won't even accept copies of receipts. They want the original receipt. So do yourself a favor, call the clerk of the court, wherever you made your special assessment fee, and get proof that you paid it. Get those receipts, make copies of them, leave the copies at home, bring the originals into prison, show them to your case manager. They will then get thrown into your file. So that's something that they hit Shelly with pretty hard when she went in there, because she had paid hers, but she didn't have a receipt. So they put her on FRP until she mailed in her receipt. And thankfully, she told me this advice before I went into prison, and I brought a copy of my receipt. And they tried to tell me the copy was no good, but after going back and forth, they finally accepted it. But they really did make me jump through a few extra hoops. So get those get the special assessments taken care of. Now, when you go into this interview, when you sit down, you don't know if it's going to be your first week, your second week. It's usually going to be within your first 4 weeks. You want to be completely prepared. You want to have all of your questions. You might want to ask things like, what is your release date? Ask for a copy of your J&C, which is your judgment and committal. This is going to show you like any fines, any restitution. It's going to give you the basic offense of what your charge is. Also, you can ask for your sentencing computation. Your sentencing computation is going to show your halfway out, your early eligibility date for like home confinement. You can ask them at this point if they have a halfway house date for you, or if they're going to give you an idea of how much halfway house time they're going to give you. I recommend not bringing this up right away. First, show them who you are. get involved in programming, in mentoring, staying out of trouble. Show them you're going to be a good candidate for somebody that if they do recommend additional halfway house for, specifically through like second chance, show them that you're not going to blow this opportunity. So asking it for early on could kind of be putting the cart before the horse. So again, my advice to you is don't bring up halfway house, but you can ask for your sentencing and computation sheet, which will show you how much good time you have, how much good time you should have by the end of your sentence, what your expected release date with good time would be, what your expected release date would be with no good time, and then what your home confinement date would be, early, like basically home ankle monitor. While you're in the halfway house, you can get transferred to home confinement, which is typically 10% of whatever your sentence is. But all of this is usually on your sentencing and computation sheet. So you want to get that as early as possible because you never know. There might be a mistake. Something could be wrong with your PSR. And it's hard for you to ask to have these modifications fixed at the tail end when you're trying to go home. So find out about this stuff early on. So get a copy of your J&C, Judgment and Committal, and also go ahead and ask for a copy of your sentencing computation. Custody level. Ask for your custody level review. Find out what your custody level, usually when you get to a camp, this is specifically talking to people going to a camp right now. When you go to camp, you typically start off with out custody. This just means that you can go outside of the prison gates, but you're probably somewhere still within the perimeter. Maybe you're outside doing lawn maintenance, but you're usually still within the confines of the prison to some extent. That's your out custody. After 6 months to a year, if you've done what you're supposed to do, you're programming, you've stayed out of trouble, no infractions, you should be able to go to your case manager, back to your unit team, and ask them if you have now qualified for community custody. Community custody is where now you can go out into the community. You can work out in the community. You might be a town driver bringing people to like the airport or the doctor. Qualifying for furloughs, even though we don't see them qualify for furloughs very often, once from time to time, they will give furloughs to where you can either go home on a weekend, shut that door, go home on a weekend, or furloughs, like if you're going to be transferring from prison to prison, instead of doing the diesel therapy where it takes forever to get transferred, you can do a furlough transfer where you basically transfer yourself. So getting your custody level to community custody as soon as possible. It also qualifies you for better jobs because you can get jobs outside of the prison gates. So just having the ability to know, have the wherewithal to ask for this and see if you qualify for this. This is something that you definitely want to set your goals towards and bring it up during your first team meeting, asking your case manager, what do you need to do to get community custody classification? And they'll tell you, well, let's see where it goes. Let's see what you're doing, do the programs. And then, of course, if you're a client of ours, we're working with you through the progress report on what classes you're doing in addition to what your case manager has asked you to do. So we really do assist you in creating influence that's going to influence later on as to what programs the BOP will allow you to go in. Let me know if there's any questions in there, CJ.
No, none related to this.
None related. Okay. So when your case manager asks you to participate in programs, do understand that it's optional. You don't have to do any of the programs that they ask you to do. But if you're trying to put yourself in position for a later date to have either earlier release for halfway house, home confinement, transferring to a different prison, the more you do that your case manager or unit team or during your regular team, when they're asking you to do these things, it's going to be in your best interest and benefit if you take it into strong consideration and get this stuff done as soon as possible. Also, so teams, if you have information and you want to ask a question, let's say after your team, you forgot to ask something. Sometimes your case manager may have an open door policy. Sometimes they don't. There is quite a bit of interaction with staff and inmate, but typically if you want to ask something official, you need to fill out inmate request to staff, which is also called a cop-out. You can also put yourself through the core links. There should be information on there to contact different BOP, within the BOP, within the confines for different staff, different departments. You can do it right through the core links prison system that you have access to. The meetings as far as when you're going to have your team meeting, it's not going to be out of the blue. It will be posted on like a bulletin board that's within the dormitory. Also, you have a call-out sheet every morning. Everybody, you'll learn this real quick. There's something called a call-out sheet. Everybody goes and looks on the call-out sheet to see if their name is on the call-out sheet. That could be for anything. It could be for medical. It could be for physical. It could be, you're taking a specific class that you're going to be starting. And if your name is on that call-out sheet and you do not go, you could find yourself in some hot water because they can give you an infraction because you're supposed to be somewhere and you're not there. So every single day, make sure you take a peek at that call-out sheet Monday through Friday. Holidays and weekends, you're not going to see a call-out sheet, but make sure you're taking a peek at that call-out sheet to see if your name is on there for anything. Teams, unit teams, things like that, normally are going to be posted on a bulletin board. You'll have plenty of heads-up notice on that to gather all of your questions, making sure that you're well prepared going in there, because those meetings, if you have more than a year remaining on your sentence, the team meeting only happens once every 6 months. So once every 6 months, you should have the undivided attention of your case manager. Now, if you go in there and you're not prepared with questions, you might go in there and your case manager might say, Mr. Wise, you got any questions? Nope. I'm not sure. Is there anything I should be doing? No, it looks great. See you later. And then as soon as you walk out, you're like, I was going to ask him this. I was going to ask him that. Make sure you have a list of your questions and make sure you get your questions out as soon as possible. Some case managers are easier to work with than others. They have a lot of people they need to deal with. I imagine they get a lot of rhetorical questions. So really try to keep your questions identified to something that pertains to a situation, and don't make it overly general. That's the basics for what a team meeting is, and it's completely different than what it means to get teamed in RDAP. We get a lot of questions from people that are in RDAP of family members, and they're like, my so-and-so is getting teamed. He has a team meeting in RDAP. And they're like, is that normal? What does that mean? And I can tell you, it's not a good thing. If you're getting teamed, it's not a good thing. And we're going to be discussing that on Wednesday. Question? Oh. So, other than that, you guys got any questions on what it means to get teamed? Anything you guys want to know on there? I'm going to sip my coffee. Is everybody getting ready for Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, all those things? Here they come, back to back. I've learned how to drink my coffee quiet because I know it pisses a lot of you off. No questions. How many thumbs up do we got?
18 thumbs up, 16 people watching.
Wow, 18. It's been a while. Sorry, guys. It's been really hectic. Moving into the new house, and just we've really been busy with work. We've had to bring in some additional staff. And it's always something going on, right? So trying to find time to make these videos because I know you guys really do find a lot of comfort in the videos. We've got some pretty cool videos coming up. We're working on a pretty big documentary with some big names. That's probably going to be about 1.5 to 2 years in the making before anything comes out with that. But it's an amazing experience for everybody involved. And you guys will all, when it debuts, you guys will all definitely get a link to that. Our subscriber count has really been growing, specifically on the opt-in for the text messages. So if you're watching right now and you haven't done so, just text the word YouTube to 76626. That puts you on our notification. And it doesn't just let you know when we go live. Anything we do that's special, any promotions that we're running, we're going to be doing some helping out the homeless and the poor and people getting out of prison. Meeting Wednesday with Gonzaga College, a couple of students I'm going to be meeting with on Wednesday that are going to be starting a really cool program as inmates are exiting the county jail here in Spokane. They're going to have basically a pop-up tent in front of the jail right there on public property where they're going to be offering resources, housing resources, some bus passes, some vouchers, some food vouchers, blankets. So we're going to be making this all available for any of you that want to help donate to purchase some of the items that will be given to people just getting out of county jail. You're given more getting out of federal prison than you are when you're released from county jail. When you're released from county jail, it's like, see ya. They can't get you out of there fast enough. So putting these resources available to give somebody maybe a head start for at least the first 72 hours until they can figure out something. Anything's better than nothing. So we're looking forward to that. We're going to be speaking at Gonzaga University about the whole prison outlook and prison reform and what it's really like for a nonviolent offender that made some poor choices that is ultimately going to end up in prison. Hopefully we can send a message out there that will help detour someone's path in the future where they've got that opportunity to go left or right. Left is the path that they've been taught. Right is that avenue to a quick buck, maybe skipping a couple steps. That can ultimately land you in prison. And sometimes a lot of us that are watching these videos, I know myself, when I was doing what I was doing, I don't think I really understood the weight of how likely this was to land me in prison. I really found ways to justify my actions, and a lot of you have as well. It's one of our biggest battles with a lot of our clients is getting them to the point of accountability and really owning what it is that they did in order to be able to move forward. We've actually turned away a couple clients recently just because they're not able to focus on the accountability. They're stuck in the how unfair this is, but yet they're taking a plea agreement. And I've told you guys, if you're signing a plea, you can't allow yourself to get stuck in this isn't fair. I'm signing a plea. It's okay to feel that internally, but what you're portraying and what you're putting out there in the universe, if you're standing in front of the judge and you signed a plea, but you're telling them you didn't really do what they said you did, but you're signing a plea anyway, your plea could be thrown out and you could just get sentenced based on the guidelines or end up having to go to trial. So be real careful about that. We're going to answer some questions now. What do we got, CJ?
Scott Adcock is asking,
What's up, Scott?
What is the overall attitude and tone of the team?
So I'm assuming you mean the staff when you say team. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Some people are better than others. There are some individuals within the BOP that actually do care about their job and do care about seeing people get the help needed. But for the most part, it's kind of like going to the DMV or the tax collector's office. It's in and out. It's not as formal as you would imagine. It's not like your case manager where they're going to sit down with you and go through your file. You give a quick interview, you sign some papers. Make sure you get a copy of your paperwork after team. Ask for a copy of it just so you have it because you're going to be signing something and they're going to be giving you their outline of what they want you to do in the progress. Get a copy of that for your records. What else? You got another question on there?
Yeah, maybe they came in late. What does it mean to get teamed in RDAP?
You have to stay tuned. You have to come back and see us on Wednesday. Same time, same place. Wednesday, we're going to be talking about getting teamed in RDAP. I can tell you it's not good. It's not good.
And final question of the day. Juan Carlos wants to know, do they sell condoms in commissary?
Juan Carlos. Juan Carlos can sit there and make fun because Juan Carlos is one of our clients who, how much time were you looking at, Juan? Juan's in the room right now. I can't see the chat. And no, they don't sell that on commissary. How much time are you looking at, Juan? Guys, pay attention to his answer. Come on, Juan. People are waiting on you.
5 years or more.
He was expecting 5 years or more. Juan was one of our clients for about a year. How much time did you get sentenced to, Juan? Suspenseful, huh?
7 years with no plea, and he's making it more suspenseful.
He's building the suspense right now.
1 day.
1 day. Juan Carlos was looking at 5 to 7 years. Originally, he was looking at a minimum mandatory of 5 years. Juan put a lot of hard work and a lot of hard effort. He was a bit of a hard nut to crack initially. He wanted to do things his way and was pretty stubborn and was looking for shortcuts to get the same outcome. And it almost caused him a lot more trouble than he understands, even to this day probably. But he finally kicked it into gear and he really started understanding the concept. He got involved in the community service. He started taking the letters real serious. He did an amazing job with the guidance from Jenny with the personal narrative and character reference letters involving himself in the community. He'll tell you here, I don't know how many hours Juan had, but he'll tell you how many hours of community service he had.
About 400.
Is that what he said?
No, when we last talked to him.
We're guessing about 400 hours that he had prepared before sentencing. And then, the prosecution was not okay with a 1-day sentence. It wasn't something that he thought he was going to get. And the judge completely departed from the guidelines and gave him 1 day in federal prison I never actually asked him, did you actually have to go to prison for one day? How did that work? Or did you just go in and process out? And then he was, oh, there's Einstein in the background. What's up, buddy? And then he received 5 years of supervised release, basically probation, which he's on right now. And we're working with him to get his passport back and already working towards the possibilities of early termination. That's another service that we've been offering, guys, is early termination off of supervised release. For those of you that are clients, that's an automatic. But for those of you that maybe are already out of prison watching this that are on supervised release, if you want to find out if you can come off of supervised release a little bit early, all you need to do is give us a call and we can look up your situation and see if you may be a candidate for early termination off of supervised release. So Juan Carlos, looking at 5 to 7 years, ended up sentenced to 1 day with 5 years supervised release. He is definitely one of our, but you know, he was a rock star client. He was a pain in the ass, yes, but he got the job done at the end of the day. He followed direction, put in the work, put in the effort, and what he started doing as a hobby, or what he started doing as his community service, actually turned into a career for Juan Carlos, where he's making well over a 6-figure income on something that he only started as community service to help maybe receive a reduced sentence. So not only did he get his sentence reduced, he didn't go to prison, and he's got a career out of it. We should make a video called Career Day. One of the biggest issues people have getting ready to go into prison, one of the biggest fears, followed with anxiety and shame, and all of these things bundled together, is what am I going to do after prison? I'm a white-collar individual. I'm college educated, and I can no longer produce in the field or the industry that I was in due to my crime. How am I going to support my family? Trust me, there's a million things out there that are available for life after prison. Just don't allow yourself to get too negged out on that. We good on questions?
Yeah, let's see if there's anything else. And no, that's about it, I think.
I think that's all we got. Oh, we got one more.
One more. How do you find out when you get into RDAP? You made the coordinator, or when you get...
Say it again. How do they find out what?
How do you find out when you've made it into RDAP?
How do you find out when you've made it into RDAP? So when you get to prison, and we'll talk about this on Wednesday, but when you get to prison, you'll meet with the prison psychologist or the RDAP coordinator, which is also a prison psychologist, and they will review your situation, how much time you were sentenced, type of crime you have. Did you have any substance abuse in your PSR? If you didn't have substance abuse in your PSR, do you have a chemical dependency report from a licensed chemical dependency professional? There's all kinds of factors, but you'll know because they'll tell you, you qualify for RDAP and we're going to move you into a special unit. So when you go into RDAP, you're no longer in the same unit you were in. You get moved into a housing unit that's still on the same compound. You're still using the same, the courtyard, the cafeteria, the yard, the library. Everything is still shared, but your housing unit where you live is only comprised of people that are in the program. So you'll know. There's no way you won't know. Good? I think we're good. So guys, please, if you haven't already given a thumbs up, give a big thumbs up. Juan Carlos, please send CJ or myself an email to a time you can actually stick to be interviewed. I know we've had this several times, but people need to hear your story so they know that it's possible. So you've got a duty owed, my friend. You had something amazing happen to you, and it wasn't by chance. It wasn't by luck. It wasn't because you threw money at it. It was because you worked your ass off, and other people need to hear that story so they know that it's possible, to give them hope to keep the fight. Keep up the good fight. All right, subscribe, like, share this video, guys. That's the biggest thing you can do for me. If you want to share and you want to donate to the cause, not our cause, but for people in prison that are struggling, suffering, you should see. Can you copy is the donation link in the description, CJ?
I'll put it in.
You see it?
Yep.
If you can copy that. There's a link in the description of the video if you want to send a donation. And CJ also just put that donation, and that's the PayPal one, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. He also just put the PayPal donation link in the chat. So anything, $5, $500, whatever you guys feel comfortable donating. We use this to help. Right now, we'll probably use this for some of the supplies that we're going to be purchasing to give inmates as they're exiting Spokane County. And we're going to actually start broadcasting some of this when we do it, because we think other cities should pick up the same type of, get on the same track. So give a little. Holiday times are here. A lot of these inmates could use something like a card. So in a lot of this money that we put on their books for them every month, they can use that money from anything from stamps, cards for their family, writing paper, hygiene products, warmer clothes as we get colder and colder here. So, don't be stingy. Empty the pockets a little bit. I'm sure everybody can spare a couple bucks. And for those of you that can't, at least share this video, like this video, let other people know, sharing the word. All right, guys. I'm RDAP Dan, Federal Prison Time. People helping people. Community is method. One day at a time. I will see you guys on Wednesday. We're going to be talking about getting teamed in RDAP. See you soon.